Welcome to World Stories. I'm Sumi Somaskanda, and this is your International Reporters Magazine. Coming up, we rev up our engines with a couple of creative tour guides in Croatia. We dive into the deep blue sea to take a closer look at an underwater museum in Mexico. And ever heard of the Trabi? We take a trip down memory lane with a cult object from behind the Iron Curtain. All that and more coming up. But first, the Tunisian revolution triggered a wave of political and social change across the Arab world that came to be referred to as the Arab Spring. It was young Tunisians in particular who took to the streets in demand of democracy and better opportunities. But 3 years on, not much has changed. The country has been crippled by political turmoil. The economy has failed to stabilize, and unemployment, especially among young adults, is high. That's prompted some Tunisians to get creative and break boundaries, too. In our first story, Ahmed Al-Alkouni of TNN takes us to the south of the country, where two sisters are challenging long-standing traditions.
Asmahan and Iman are sisters. Their father passed away and left them his motorcycle repair shop. They needed to make a living, so they broke with long-standing social norms and ventured into a traditionally male domain.
My sister and I learned how to do this from our father. He was getting on in years, and we'd help him at work.
Their father left no other financial security for his family when he passed on. It was the only way the girls had to earn money.
My sister Iman often helped our father out, so she learned a lot more from him than I did.
My father didn't have a son to help him, but I was at his side from earliest childhood, so I learned the skills I needed to take over the workshop. Later, my sister Asmahan joined me.
Asmahan and Iman take turns in the shop. One of them works on fixing engines, while the other takes care of the household and their aging mother. Now the two sisters are known all through the town as the Fighters.
They repair motorcycles. They put lots of effort into finding the right spare parts for their customers.
The two women have drawn a lot of attention from people in the area, both positive and negative. Some critics don't like to see women breaking into traditionally male professions.
The two girls work with great commitment, and they dedicate themselves to repairing those motorcycles. They serve as an example of how young people are committing themselves to making an honest living in every kind of business. And they're fighting against unemployment.
These two women have faced many challenges and invested a lot of willpower and patience into their business to preserve their financial independence.
Many people are surprised to see what we do. When we're fixing motorcycles, our hands get dirty and greasy, but that doesn't bother us.
A new breed of women fighters is appearing in Tunisia. Women who are facing the economic challenges and adapting to meet them. Women who are breaking out of traditional roles imposed on them by their society.
While Asmahan and Iman fix up bikes, the two women in our next story know just how to use them. We meet Magdalena and Lana, who have built a thriving tourism business in Croatia with the help of their trusty motorcycles. The idea is to provide visitors an insider's guide to their country, and it's proven to be a success. Marina Gavranovic from HRT has more.
Magdalena and Lana are anything but typical promoters of local tourist attractions. It all began when Magdalena, unable to find a job, decided to turn her love of motorcycles and new technology into a novel business concept. Together with her friend Lana, the two of them created motorcycle postcards.
We ride together and spend time together, and we thought of something unique that's easy to do. There wasn't much snow in Croatia last winter, so we rode to a different location almost every weekend. We took walks and did a lot of sightseeing during the day, and we went out at night. And it made perfect sense to us to put it all together in a postcard.
Within just a few months, the e-tourist platform was born. It gives tourists insights into everything Croatia has to offer beyond the usual attractions.
Studies show that new media is the first thing foreign tourists turn to when they're looking for a holiday destination. We're taking it one step further by providing tourists with direct contact to the people in beautiful locations in Croatia.
Some tours went from tavern to tavern, from wine cellar to wine cellar, and people loved it. No one had offered them that before. Normal tour guides don't do that. They take tourists to the cathedral and so on. But we show them what's really on offer here, where we go ourselves. One time we got lost and stumbled on a seafood restaurant that served fresh seafood literally caught that morning. There was prosciutto, cheese and olive oil, the kind of stuff tourists love.
It's a unique approach, showing what life is really like from an authentic perspective. Tourists can even see what it's like to go out and eat and mix with the locals.
As far as natural beauty is concerned, Croatia is without a doubt a beautiful country. Local beauty can be found everywhere. But how can you do more than just show people the beautiful countryside? How can you get them to come back again? Our idea was to bring people together, and that is what we have to offer. Through us, people get to know local farmers and the owners of small hotels and inns. That gives people a reason to come back again, because once you've had a wonderful time staying somewhere, you're sure to return.
Forget everything you know about Croatia. Let Lana and Magdalena take you off the beaten path and give you the real picture of life in this southern European country.
Mao Zedong was China's Communist Party chairman from its founding in 1949 until his death in 1976. During that time, Chairman Mao instituted a series of what many consider disastrous policies as he tried to introduce a Chinese style of communism with an iron fist. His cultural and economic programs resulted in widespread death and suffering. In our next story, two reporters, Mu Kui and Elizabeth Xu, share a very personal story of Mu Kui's own grandparents, Li Huifang and Duan Zhen, and the hardships they endured under Chairman Mao's reign.
Times were so hard. We had to count every penny just to get by. In addition to the cost of groceries, we had expenses for other things like clothes. It was expensive to have clothes made, but even more expensive to buy new clothes. So I started learning how to sew our own clothing. I also made my own shoes, and I learned to cut hair. I learned how to do all that on my own. I'll show you some of the photos. This one shows your mama and your two uncles. In that one, you can see me with your grandfather. And here's a group photo of the whole family. You can tell these photos are from the Cultural Revolution. Look. What stands out about these photos? Everyone was wearing a pin of Chairman Mao. Back then, everyone had to wear them. Now it's hard to imagine what was going on in this country back then. For example, at the main entrance at work, we had to bow in front of Mao's portrait and salute and yell, "Long live Chairman Mao." And after work, we had to salute Mao's portrait again. Can you imagine that? No, you can't. In 1958, your grandfather got hit by the anti-rightist campaign. They labelled him a rightist dissenter. We suffered for that for 20 years.
It's nice and sunny this afternoon, isn't it?
The Cultural Revolution affected people all over the country, here in Shanghai too. Rich farmers, counter-revolutionaries, rogues, rightists and intellectuals. For the farmers, it might have been a little better.
But the farmers were hit by what they called pulling out white flags.
Yes, if any farmer whined, that's why nearly every family was hit.
Two of my bosses committed suicide. They'd been falsely accused and couldn't cope with the situation. Some drowned themselves. Others jumped off tall buildings.
With the situation like it was, deep down, I wasn't happy. I didn't put your grandfather under any additional psychological pressure. And not my children, your mother and uncles, either. Your grandfather was sent to the country to do physical labor. That was really hard. He had to carry heavy loads. I suffered along with your grandfather. His shoulders were swollen. So I sewed shoulder pads for him out of old clothes. I'd seen that in a movie. Farmers had these pads on their shoulders. I used to call them shoulder pads. Then your grandfather's shoulders didn't bleed anymore.
Now my hips don't hurt anymore. They used to hurt every time I stood up.
After 1978, of course, things changed a lot. Your grandfather got his old job back. Later, he got an even better job. He was happier. And the whole family was happy along with him. Now we're all happy.
Thanks to Mukwe for sharing that story with us. Now, if you're visiting Europe, Paris, London, Rome, or anywhere really, there's a pretty big chance you'll visit a museum. They house many of the world's most valuable collections, whether it's art or history or science on display. Now imagine this. What if you could visit a museum underwater? It is possible. Right in the middle of the Cancun National Marine Park in Mexico, life-sized art sits on the ocean floor. Isaac Coso Acuna from Mexico News Network takes us into the blue.
It's about the race of people, how we are continuously changing and evolving. Once these get put into the sea, they're going to be completely inundated with fish, with live corals, with the sponges, and the aim of it is to turn into a great artificial reef.
It's an encounter with the most precious hidden treasure in the Mexican Caribbean Sea. An artistic display of emotions that amazes visitors with its portrayal of humankind's evolution, culture, identity, and the longing to preserve the environment. The Underwater Museum of Art, better known as MUSA, is considered by the Google Cultural Institute as one of the 95 most important museums in the world and the largest underwater attraction. The pristine and turquoise waters of the Caribbean host more than 500 permanent life-size sculptures that also function as an artificial coral reef and home to thousands of exotic marine species. MUSA extends over a natural protected area called the West Coast National Park of Isla Mujeres, Punta Cancun and Punta Nizuc, located between Cancun and Isla Mujeres. It has gained great popularity in recent years, drawing more than 750,000 visitors from all over the world. Visitors marvel at the sight of such impressive art. MUSA also serves the purpose of creating an artificial habitat for the area's ecosystem, revealing a colourful and exotic underwater world. Each sculpture is made with environmentally friendly materials that encourage the natural growth of coral life. British artist Jason Taylor is the creative mind and crafter behind every sculpture, each cleverly designed to also function as an artificial reef for many years to come. He's inspired by the emotions, character and attributes of the local population, balancing contemporary art and culture with a dedication to the preservation of nature. Thanks to this artistic project, the Dreams Collector, a man on his Volkswagen, and hundreds of other sculptures will turn into the home of thousands of underwater species. The placement of each piece at the bottom of the Musa has a special purpose. There are sections that have a higher number of sculptures, but they all serve the same goal: to recover the natural reefs while also providing visitors with a new attraction. Water sports like snorkeling and diving now go hand in hand with fascinating pieces of art. The museum is divided into two galleries. Salon Manchones is an 8-metre deep hall, perfect for divers and swimmers. Salon Nizuk is 4 metres deep and only suitable for snorkeling. Great Mexican talent can also be admired at Musa, which displays works by Karen Salinas Martinez, Roberto Diaz Abraham, Rodrigo Quinones Reyes, and Salvador Quiros Enes, among others. Visitors from all around the world are discovering the Underwater Museum of Art. They come to see what's hidden beneath the waters of the Caribbean. Ideal for all ages, Musa is a wonderful underwater world that can also be viewed from glass-bottom boats. Immerse yourself in a universe of art, perfectly combined with nature, in the world's greatest underwater museum.
Now, if you've ever been in Berlin, you've probably seen a tourist or two navigating through the city in a somewhat unusual classic car, the Trabant, or Trabi as it's affectionately known. It's considered the symbol of communist East Germany, where it was produced. The plucky two-cylinder boxy vehicle survived the fall of the wall to become a sort of cult object. There are Trabi fan clubs in countries around the world, including Bulgaria. Živko Konstantinov from Nova TV takes us for a spin.
By the time production of the East German Trabant stopped in 1991, it had already become a nostalgic icon of the socialist era. New vintage car fans the world over are restoring old Trabants to their former glory, or rather a glory never dreamt of before, as with this one-of-a-kind specimen in Pernik. One Trabant owner says his passion for the car will never die.
Many people take pictures with cameras and mobile phones when I drive past. The car is very attractive.
The car is an eye-catcher on the streets.
It's economical and environmentally friendly.
New regulations forced us to put in a 4-stroke engine.
This car has been transformed into a work of art.
The upholstery is made of vellum and a very modern fabric called Alcantara.
A brand new dashboard and center console.
The dashboard includes the temperature and oil pressure gauges.
But that's not all.
The car has xenon headlights, and we've mounted carbon rings for decoration. It has a carbon-fibered grille, and the color is called royal blue, with a little touch of white on the roof and wheel rims. That gives it a pearly effect.
The overall effect is quite positive.
This car gives you a good feeling about life. It's important to have something different that can give you a positive outlook.
This car looks good, and it can actually take you somewhere. For Nova TV, I'm Živko Konstantinov.
All right, that's it for this edition of World Stories. For all of us here in our partner stations around the world, thanks for watching. Before we go, we'll leave you with this week's Picks of the World. See you next time.